Hello everyone and welcome to this short course on how to make a turn-based RPG in Godot 4. On this course, we will learn how to set up the player movement and animation, create our tile set and design our map, create beautiful user interface for our players, add enemies and combat, make it possible for our players to gain experience and level up, and we will set up NPCs and create our quests. We'll create menus for our game, and we will end it with music and sound effects. This course is for complete beginners, so if you want to get started with Godot 4, you can just jump right in. Hello and welcome everyone, welcome to a new Godot course. In this course we're going to be learning on how to make a turn-based RPG in the Godot engine. In this course, we're going to be using Godot 4.1.1. If you don't have that installed, you can just go to the official website, godotengine.org, and get it installed. So without further ado, let's get started. And the first thing to do here is to create a new project. We're going to name it turn-based RPG and hit create folder, and then click create and edit. We're gonna wait for it to load up, and it's all loaded up. Okay, so if you're new to the Godot editor, I will explain stuff quickly. This is what we have here is the node tree, or whatever you want to call it. I personally call it the node tree. This is where you're gonna have all of your nodes in the scene. This is where you're gonna add nodes or remove nodes. Here we have an inspector, which if you click on a node, it's going to give you details on that node. It will give you the position, rotation, scale, and other settings that you can change in the inspector. Here we have our file system. This is where all of the files that you add to your project are going to be, from scripts, scenes, assets, music. Everything will be here. So biggest advice is to keep this space organized. Otherwise, your project can get chaotic. And here we have the scene doc. This is where all of your scenes, not all of them, but the scenes that you are working on will be up here. It's like a scene tab, just like in a, like maybe Google Chrome and like Opera, where you have like web tabs. It's the same thing. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. And the first thing that we're going to work on today is our player character. We're going to add movement. So we have to create a scene for our player. And to do that, you can go here, create a new folder, call it scenes, to keep stuff organized, as I said. Right click this folder and create new. You can create a new scene and you can choose 2D. Another way to create a scene is you can just click here, 2D scene, and it's already created a 2D scene for us. And later on, you can just click the plus and it will add a new scene, just like what we had before. So we can rename this node 2D to player. And we need to change it because we cannot really use a node 2D for a player, since a node 2D does not interact with physics. So we're gonna create change node and then head for the search and search for a character body 2D. As you can see here, a 2D physics body specialized for characters moved by script. Perfect. Now we're gonna add a sprite to our player. And if you are wondering how I am adding stuff without clicking on the add button, it's there's a shortcut and you have to click hold Control and A, and it will open up the window where you can choose nodes from. Amazing. So we have this little warning here on our player node, and it says this node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. And that's because we didn't add our collision shape 2D to our player node yet. So to do that, we're gonna do collision shape 2D. So let's go back to our sprite. Let's add a texture. We're gonna use this icon file that you will have in your project by default. And this is going to be our player graphics for now. We'll change it up later. Now we have to go back to our collision shape and choose a shape that fits our sprite. So we're gonna use a rectangle body, rectangle shape. We'll change that later as well, because I think it's better to use a capsule or a circle shape when you're making your character, but since it's an icon, it looks like a square, we're just gonna go with a rectangle shape. And you have to fit this well, so your character collisions don't seem odd. Nice. Now that our player node is practically ready, you can save this in our scenes folder by clicking Ctrl S. It will open up this tab, navigate to your scenes folder, and we're gonna save our player.tscn here. So we'll click save. Perfect. Now that our player node is ready, we can get started with the script. So to add a script, you can either right click the node and you'll find attach script, or you can just select the node and click on this icon here. So in this window, we're gonna change our path for the script. I don't want the script to be saved in the scenes folder, so we're gonna create a new folder called scripts. We're gonna save our player.gd in the scripts folder. Nice. By default, as you can see, we have this character 2D basic movement, and this is a template made for platformers. Since we're not making a platformer, we're making a top-down game, we won't be needing this, so we can just set no default or empty. We're gonna hit create, and this is our script. Perfect. So to get started, the first thing to do is we should define our speed variable. So you do var speed equals 250. That's the speed that I'm going to be using in this project. And we can now get started. We're gonna make another function for our player movement, because I want to keep this script organized. So we're gonna divide everything into functions. And the first thing to do is we're gonna do velocity equals input dot get vector. We're gonna do left, right, up, and down. So what we did here is velocity is a vector to a variable that's implemented with the character body 2D. So what we're doing here is we're taking these actions, left, right, up, down, and we're using these actions to get a vector, and we're storing it in our velocity. So this will act as the direction that the player wants to go in. So what we need to do now is take our velocity, we're gonna normalize it, and then multiply it by speed. Nice. Now we're gonna apply everything that we did, and we're gonna call a function called move and slide. This function is what applies the physics for the character body 2D. And if you want to read more about it, you can hold Control and click on the function, and it will take you to the documentations. As you can see, it moves the body based on velocity. If the body collides with another, it will slide along the other body, etc. So now, practically, our player character is ready. All we need to do is call the player movement in our func process. As you can see here, the func process is called every frame. That's why we set up our player movement in here. One thing to keep in mind is that we forgot to set up these actions, because these actions, you need to add them by yourself. So we're gonna, as we did, we went to project settings, we're gonna go input map. We're gonna add a new action. So we're gonna add left, right, up, and down. So for left, it's going to be A. You can just click the button and it automatically select it for you. For right, we're gonna do D. For up, we're gonna do W. And for down, we're gonna do S. Pretty straightforward. So now if we close this and we save our scene, we can hit this to run this scene only, or there's a shortcut for F6, and it will run this scene. If we click WASD, our character will move in our desired direction. Great. Of course, you can play around with the speed variable. You can choose whatever speed suits you most, and it will still work without any issues. But for this project, I would rather keep the speed at 250. What's next is we're gonna change the sprite, obviously, and we're gonna add animation to our player to make it look a lot better, a lot cooler, and yeah. So after we set up our basic player movement, we can now move on to animation.